Hey, everybody, welcome to the Billion Dollar Banker podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Perrone, aka the Billion Dollar Banker. And today we have Armando Pantoja with us, a TEDx speaker, an author, a futurist, an amazing tech investor, and someone that's leading the way early on in the crypto world. He has an amazing platform. You got to go check him out. He's going to talk to us about all things crypto, AI, blockchain. I think it's such a great time to have you here today. Thanks for joining us, Armando.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. So tell us, take us back to the beginning. How did you get into the world of cryptocurrency?
So I was studying University of South Florida. I asked to pick a major. I picked computer science. I needed a sub major, so I picked cryptography. That's the study of computer encryption. That's what crypto is based on. And then during my studies, I just learned about crypto from my fellow classmates. I didn't really see it as an investment or anything. It was just something cool. So at the time, I had a side business when I was in grad school. So I said, well, I'm going to start a company, a software company, and I'm going to integrate. I didn't see it as an investment. I thought that the big money was going to be the integration on websites, people going to pay with it. So I did that, and that's how I got in early. It took me like 3 more years to see it as an investment.
Wow. Well, I'm so impressed by, when you talk to your followers and you have a very big audience on Instagram and beyond, even on LinkedIn and beyond that. But I'm so impressed by how you kind of just address your audience like very, very simple. You go live a lot. You're just there talking. It feels like you're talking right to us. And I was thinking the last time I watched you, like, what really inspired you to start being a thought leader in this space, to start really putting your message out there?
So when I was in grad school, I was a teacher's aide, and I was also an instructor for undergrad. So I really liked that. I really liked being a teacher, right? But to be honest, it didn't pay enough, and also I didn't like the politics. So after I got out of grad school, I went to software engineering route, and then for a while I was a teacher at night again. Back in 2015. So I really liked teaching, but I just didn't like everything that came with it. When I got the opportunity to do this on Instagram, I just loved it, right? I consider myself a good teacher, even when I was teaching at colleges and universities. So I just kept honing my skills, and I do that constantly, as I want to make sure it's not about just getting out there talking. It's about conveying information so that people can understand it. You have to do that in a relatable way. You have to add comedy into it. You have to have an entertainment value, and you just have to just make it so that people are interested in listening to it. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to somebody just spitting off a bunch of facts and figures.
It's so true. There's, I heard the other day, it was like encouragement, entertainment, and education, like the three kind of pillars on the social media side of the world. And so obviously you do a great job there, but also just so impressive, your history as an author and a TEDx speaker. Can you tell us about the book that you recently published? I think it was a year ago. I see it out there. It looks very intriguing title. Tell us about what that book's about.
So that was my first book. I'm actually working on the second one with a major publisher, but that's my first book, and it was self-published. It actually did so well that a publisher's looking at me, so which is pretty good. It's called The Strategic Millionaire. It's more about how I applied strategy to building wealth unconventionally. Now, I didn't come from a lot of money. And everything I did from the beginning, because I didn't have the capital, I had to be strategic about it, right? You had to start out using your own capital, your sweat equity, they call it. And you have to figure out ways to make money without having capital. And you take that initial capital and you start compounding it. And that's what I did. And those are the lessons I learned along the way. There's some stories, but it's mostly the stories are meant to illustrate something that happened and show you what I learned from it. Then I go on and talk about like the concepts I learned from it, which are actually true investment concepts and fundamentals.
Well, I think everybody loves that story, by the way, of like, someone that nothing was really handed to you, right? It's not easy to make your way up the chain to becoming a millionaire, right? And you do have to really be strategic about it. So I love the title, super catchy and just impressive. Anytime I see someone that's in the process of writing a book or has written one, I think it's such an awesome way to leave your mark. For the audience, stick around, because as we keep moving further through this journey, Armando is going to lay down some really great gems about the crypto world. I know anyone that has their eye on investments in general is looking at crypto. I feel like there's a whole new wave, but I think a lot of people don't understand crypto completely. And so can you explain just the basic principles of blockchain technology to our listeners?
Yeah, so that's really the key, right? Is that a lot of people are explaining cryptocurrency from the top level. What I mean by that is that, hey, buy this thing, it's going to go up in value. And then the average person's like, well, things don't work like that. You're not just going to buy this token or this coin, it's going to keep going up in value. I think the problem is most people don't explain it from the blockchain level. The blockchain is what makes all crypto important, and it's also what makes it valuable. The blockchain is a distributed database, almost like let's say it's a ledger, really. Let's say like a Google Sheet, right? So it's all over the world. So that means that anytime there's a transaction, like I send you a Bitcoin, it's added to that ledger. Now, that's not innovative. That's been around for years. But the innovative part is that once that's added, it's duplicated to every miner. This is the Bitcoin network. Every miner or every node on that network, and everyone has to agree that this transaction was valid. At least 51% or 50% have to agree. The majority has to agree to that. Once all of that happens, that transaction gets added to the blockchain. Every single computer that's on the Bitcoin network has a copy of that transaction. Then you move on to the next set of transactions. Now, that's the chain, right? Is that there's a group of transactions every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, that whatever transaction go through get added to a box. That box is added to everybody's computer. Now, what makes that so innovative is that because it's on every computer in the world, the system can never go down, right? If we lose, let's say the United States had some kind of catastrophe and all the miners in the United States went down. Well, the entire ledger of the blockchain is maybe in Australia, and it's also in China, and it's also in Canada. So then you can always recreate, like I can always get my computer back up and just recopy the blockchain back. So that makes a system that's cannot be tampered with, because once though that it's copied, It also makes it transparent because we can always go online and see every transaction. And it also makes it is a foolproof and it can never fail because of that. Now, that's what makes Bitcoin so important, is that it's built on a database that's the most advanced database we've ever known, and it can never fail, never go down, and never not function.
Yeah.
Unless the earth ends. So.
Well, it's interesting you explain it that way too. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't think we'll need money at that point anyway. But it's funny because you see like the old school train of thought, or people that don't really understand are like, well, what if the computers go down? And it reminds me of like when credit cards came out, and like grandparents would be like, you're just going to take a number and punch it into the like this computer, and like who knows where it goes? What if someone gets it, right? So there's this part of like kind of evolving in your mindset that's important, I think. But you endorse a lot of cryptocurrencies, I'd say. I don't know if that's the word that you would use, but I'm curious, how do you decide what cryptocurrencies you're going to spend time on? I saw your post recently that was saying like, hey, I can't cover this all. I can't cover everything, right? So you're picking which ones? How are you figuring it out?
There's 2.2 million cryptos right now. 50,000 cryptos get created a day, mostly meme coins. I don't talk about meme coins. I don't believe in them long term. It's like every cycle, and we're in the middle of a bull cycle in crypto, which means that everything's going to go up here soon. There's always this exotic thing that comes out. In 2017, it was ICOs. 2020, it was NFTs, and now we have meme coins. There's always this like shiny ball that people think I can make 100, 1,000, 2,000 times my money, and then and everybody just rushes into these things, the retail investors, and everybody ends up losing their money. That's what meme coins are. I don't talk about that. Now, I look for cryptos with real world value, and also the technology sound, and they have what's called a use case. It means a reason for existing. And that's really what I look at. So I don't really look at a coin that's just pay or something just around just to be around. I don't believe long term in those coins.
Yeah, I saw your comments on the Trump meme coin and the Melania meme coin, and obviously I think there's a big difference between that and, like you just said, the coins that are actually have some use value to them. So what do you think? We're in a bull market. I mean, what do you think are the most exciting trends in the crypto market right now?
Hopefully Trump will endorse the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, and that means that that'll be what the government having a certain amount of crypto on their balance sheet, and they will add to it over time. And that's not unheard of. The United States has strategic reserves of oil, potatoes, cheese, all these other commodities. So it's not unheard of to add a commodity or investment like Bitcoin to the government's coffers. But that's really the biggest thing. Two is that. Is Bitcoin getting accepted by the masses? And I think that's going to happen this cycle. And I just think those two are the biggest things going to happen over the next year or so.
Wow. And so and obviously everything that I've seen that's come out, it seems like this is a pretty crypto friendly administration that we have in comparison to maybe before. But also when you talk about like adopting it kind of really an acceptance, like I'm seeing these Bitcoin ATM machines like popping up everywhere. I think Costco just came out. They're in like every Costco across the country. What's that about? Like are people really walking up to a machine and purchasing, I guess, I'd say like a share of a coin or something, a piece of it?
Yeah, yeah, they are. You remember Bitcoin is fractional. Every currency is fractional. You can't use a currency unless it's fractional. Like you
Okay.
can't just walk in. Like if we only had $100 bills, it wouldn't be a
Right.
effective currency, right? So
Right.
it has to be fractional. Bitcoin is the same thing. It's fractional. You can buy down to the Satoshi, which is 1/100th of a Bitcoin. It's less than a fraction of a penny for one section of a Bitcoin. There's 100 million in each Bitcoin. Uh, but yeah, so people actually do go up to these ATMs and buy it, which I don't suggest because they rip you off with the fees. I mean, it's the fees are ridiculous when you do that. It's like 30, 20, 35, 20 to 30% each way. So buy and sell. So it's ridiculous. But people do it because they see the ATMs, they don't really pay attention to the fees and they just want a piece of Bitcoin. But a
Hmm.
better way is going Coinbase or something like that and obtain your Bitcoin.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. And so, I mean, recently we've had a lot of fluctuation in Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? I mean, how do you see that affecting the broader market? What do you think is that going to trend down the line to other cryptos, or what's your advice in that space?
Yeah, there's a lot of volatility, especially over the last 2 weeks, because a lot of the hype over the last, let's say, 3 months was building on Trump, his executive orders in crypto. It didn't happen on day one, so a lot of people start to panic. And the stock market's also down, so because of DeepSeek. So, so a lot of investors are like kind of unsure. So when the investors are unsure, they just start selling, and that normally causes the market to have a slight drawdown. And that's
Hmm.
what we're seeing right now.
Okay.
I think over time, I think the fundamentals of Bitcoin, especially with the halving last April, is going to be, it's almost a guarantee that we're going to see a big rise in Bitcoin regardless by the end of the year.
That's amazing. Yeah, you see a lot. It's hard to know what to take in, right? And like, there's so many people out there talking about crypto. Obviously, you have a long-term background in this. So is this how you've gained your following, just because your advice is accurate, or like how has that happened? Because there's so many people out there. What advice do you give to people on like, hey, decide who to listen to?
Yeah, so originally, I had like 300 followers. So what really was my, I guess, claim to fame on social media was that in 2017 I was running a crypto website. It's called ICO Ranker. It was the third biggest crypto site at the time
Oh,
in
wow.
the world. And what we did is what the new cryptos that came out, we would rank them and tell you if they were good or not. And I used an early version of AI back then called Google AI to like try to figure out, like we would take all the data from all the past cryptos and then we would try to figure out what based along similar cryptos in the past, how this crypto would do. And people came to the site, we got a lot of attention. 6 months later, after we said it, somebody, publicly traded company, bought it from us, and now it was on the news, right? Is that it was one of the biggest crypto sales up to that point of a company. They're way bigger now, but that was it was big back then.
Wow.
So it got posted all over the internet, and I went from 300 followers to 30,000 in maybe 3 days. And then after that, my DM were full of people asking me questions about crypto, questions about this. And at the point, like I was kind of sad because even though I got this big acquisition, I was like, what am I going to do next? That's
Hmm.
how you feel after you get acquired. And that was like my path. Like, oh, I could just start teaching. So I got online for 4 years, and I just started talking about crypto. Like I didn't ask for none, didn't sell anything, didn't even do events, anything. I just kept talking, and it grew from the 30,000 to close to where we are now.
Wow. Almost at a million followers for the audience, and hang in there, because the more that we kind of go through this conversation, I think the more education we're going to get. Armando has a phenomenal way of really delivering his message, and that's I think that probably the reason why people are following you. And so when you think about people that haven't gotten started in crypto yet, what would your advice be for someone just getting started?
I would say take it easy. Be careful because there's a lot of people that will tell you, especially in this time, is that they'll believe they know a lot more than they know. And that's a common like bias that people have. They as soon as they get into something, they feel like they know everything. And over time, if you continue down the path of learning, you realize you don't know everything. And then that's where the imposter syndrome comes from. That's a big thing. Is that at first when you learn something, I know everything. Then after about a few years, you go, man, maybe I don't know as much. And to be right when you think you don't know everything, that's really when you're becoming an expert. And that's something, a psychological finding that they had that. So a lot of people will start in crypto, they make some early money in a bull run where everybody makes money, and they'll start giving advice, your friends, family, everything. So you have to be careful with that because nobody can learn a market in 3 months. It's impossible. But people will believe they can, and they'll be confident in telling you. So you have to be careful who you listen to.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think that's a good point. You could tell it's a younger industry too, right? There's a lot of younger people that have done pretty well, taking some risk early on. And I see some of people giving advice. I'm like, wow, not to discount someone that's younger, but you're like, you seem to be very confident, very self-assured.
They're very confident.
How would you suggest for people to diversify their portfolio if they are going to invest in Bitcoin?
You got to remember, this is what I do, is that crypto is still relatively risky. It's volatile. It's based on a lot of macro events, what the politics are going to do and stuff like that. So it's you have to like balance that risk. And the way I do that is through real estate. Real estate is the lower risk investment. Every time crypto goes up, and I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years, I take something out and buy real estate. That's how I balance the risk out. So let's say, for example, and the thing about it is, I believe wholeheartedly in crypto, but as an investor, you have to understand that you can't think like that. Your heart can go one way, but you can't leverage your family and your future on one asset. It's crazy to do that. It doesn't make sense. So I balance the risk out with real estate. Real estate's boring. It's going to keep going up. Nobody can take it from you. AI can't do anything to it. So even if the market of real estate cannot drop to zero, because you still got a house, it always have some value. The land will have value. So that's the way I balance the risk out in crypto. But it's another way you can do it too, is that if you're in cryptocurrency and you're putting so much into it, you can up your contributions to 401k. That's a lower risk investment long term. So there's other ways that you can use to balance out the risk.
Right. So thinking about what other asset classes you can move money in, maybe want 100% of what you're investing in crypto. And I love that you said real estate. Obviously, our audience is predominantly a real estate community. I'm in mortgage banking, so it's a good segue to get a little plug for real estate, even though I know you're very passionate about crypto. So, I'm going to ask you, and for the audience, I think they'll hopefully love the answer to this, but, the few that I hear you speak about a lot, XRP recently, Bitcoin, obviously, and I think Ethereum, I hear a little bit from you as well. Where do you see these in the next 5 years?
I see. We're very early in cryptocurrency. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Now, if you look at the entire crypto market, there's not one crypto that's being used for anything other than speculation. People betting basically on the future potential of each individual cryptocurrency. And that's basically all it is right now. So but there is a lot of potential in this technology. That's the reason why people are betting on it, especially like big banks like BlackRock and JP Morgan, MicroStrategy, a lot of Google, a lot of companies are betting on cryptocurrency because the technology is groundbreaking. But in the future, I could see, like with Bitcoin, be more specific, Bitcoin started out as a currency, right? And that's when I got into it early days. That's why I always show people, I said, look, man, I had like 50 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin. Look how I spent them. And I got like emails every time I spent it. People, could add all this money and all that, things like that. But the thing about it, the mindset wasn't the same as it is now. We saw it as a currency, so we spent them. That's what it's supposed to do. So right around 2015, it became an investment because people started to realize that the price was going up so much. Why spend it? You could just save it and make money. Right. So that's going to continue for the next 5, maybe even 10 years. But Bitcoin will eventually return back to being a currency. So eventually the price will go up exponentially, and it will max out. And that price may, when at the max price, it'll go up slightly over the years, just like maybe like gold or something like that.
Right.
And we'll use it as a currency again.
Interesting. That is interesting. And now, when you think about XRP, it has a real use case, right? Is it true that today it's partnered with several financial institutions like American Express and some banking institutions. Is it different in that way?
Yeah, those partnerships don't really mean that much. They're just basically, and I know this because I've been in the industry. They're like news. It's basically for press releases,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that
Okay.
they do some kind of slight partnership. They're going to test it out or whatever, and then they just put that press release out so everybody hears about it. Because the press release gets more hype for the coin than actually what the partnership is. If you look into the details, the partnership is a lot of times limited, and it's not really anything significant.
Interesting.
But still, XRP does have a lot of potential, and it will be used in the banking system eventually. After XRP was held down by a lawsuit for many years with the SEC,
Mm-hmm.
and now Trump is supposed to end the lawsuit completely. So XRP is the only cryptocurrency that has is past regulatory scrutiny, and also it has the corporate structure. In the beginning of crypto, I thought that was bad. When I first started, I was anti-corporations. I thought everything should be decentralized like Bitcoin. Had a conversation with a guy in 2019 at a Bitcoin conference. It was a banker, and it was one of the boring times of Bitcoin when the prices were down, all the Lambos and stuff were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at this conference, and it was a boring banker there, and he was like, "I'm looking into it for Wells Fargo or some bank." And I tried to explain to him with excitement, like, "Oh man," he's like, "Who do we call for tech support?" He was like, "Nobody. Bitcoin's decentralized."
Yeah.
Like, who do we call for like, how can we reverse transactions? No, you can't do that. Bitcoin's, and he was like, that's kind of weird. Then it hit me is that you got to have a crypto for them too. And that's where XRP, because I hated XRP up to that, but now I see a place in it in the banking world.
I think I saw you either post or speak about exactly that there it kind of bridges that gap for people that aren't comfortable with the DeFi. I guess that's how you'd refer to it, this decentralized kind of platform. This is something that XRP can kind of bridge that gap for people that are a little bit not so comfortable. And I guess, can you tell our audience what XRP is? What is the use of it? What would it be doing with these banking institutions?
So XRP hopefully will be a replacement for the SWIFT banking system. Now, what the SWIFT banking system is that when countries send money to one bank from one country to another country, there's an intermediary called the SWIFT system, and the money has to clear and all this stuff before it gets from one bank to another. It's costly. It takes a lot of time, and it's expensive. It's like a hodgepodge system that was built over time, so it's still very inefficient, very costly. XRP is hoping to be with their stable coin is to be able to send money a lot more efficiently and cheaper and faster, and make transactions between banks all over the world a lot faster. So XRP is the only crypto that's doing that, really. So they're in a good position to do well. They're only crypto that's working with corporations, to be honest, on that level. So that's why I like it now. I didn't like it at first, but I like it now.
Is your prediction still the same? I saw that you made a prediction. I think it was on your LinkedIn. I don't know how many months ago it was. It was some time ago that you thought XRP would get to $8 to $12.
Yeah, I still think we're going towards that middle of this year. Sorry.
Middle of this year. That's great. And when you're thinking about the potential, is it really market cap driven when you're thinking about I've seen you put out a couple videos on, market cap being an important part when you're doing the math here, because people will just say, oh, it's going to go to, $1,000. And
no, I actually, maybe you got a post like from a year ago where I used to think market cap was important. Now I don't.
Okay.
That's another revelation I had, is like, I would actually argue that point that certain cryptos couldn't get to certain levels because of market cap. Well, those who don't listen know what market cap is if you take the unit of a total, like let's say for an asset, right? You take the available units and you multiply it by the cost of each unit, and it gives you a market cap. That's the total value of all that asset in the marketplace. And people use this a lot to compare, to predict, and things like that, where a certain like a stock or an asset is going or where it can go. And that's been applied to cryptocurrency. So people will say, well, Bitcoin's already at 2 trillion. NVIDIA is at 2 trillion. So how much higher can Bitcoin go? Right. But the thing about Bitcoin is not a stock. It's not an asset really in a traditional sense. But so market cap does not make sense for Bitcoin. Like in a stock, it makes sense because we can find every stock that like NVIDIA has. There's no stocks missing at the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
They're all available. You know where they all are. Most of them are electronic, so we know where every stock's at. Bitcoin is that there's a lot of Bitcoin lost forever. There's 3-4% of Bitcoin is locked in a wallet that's never been used at inception. And there's Bitcoin wallets all over the place that's been lost forever. So that market cap reflects all of those Bitcoins because there's no way for sure to know if they're in the market or not. So uh, every time every Bitcoin is in that market. So the market cap is actually too high.
Mm.
And then secondly, uh, that I don't know, I started to understand, think why we're applying market cap to a technology and trying to limit it based on that market cap, because we don't apply market cap to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't apply it to like the electric system or like the
Mm-hmm.
telephone system. Those things would be calculated in the hundreds of billions of dollars if we applied the market cap to these technologies. Now, I don't think Bitcoin is a traditional asset in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more transformative technology, and I don't think we should be applying market cap to it anymore.
It's interesting because even someone like yourself that has a background, has been an early adopter, it's like you have to kind of reframe your perspective about, you think of investing, you think about things like market cap. And this is kind of really a new way to think about everything as it relates to investing. And so, Web3 is another component, I think, of all this and the metaverse. Do you think crypto will be integrated?
Yeah, I think with those things, we're like all of this stuff, crypto, metaverse, Web3, we're years away, maybe 10, 15 years. Now, you got to remember, the internet came out in 92. Really, the World Wide Web was in 92. That's what made the internet usable for most people. It was out a decade before that, maybe or more than a decade. We didn't really effectively use the internet till like 2008, which was what,
Right.
16 years later,
Wow.
And the internet itself was built in the late 70s. So we didn't effectively use the internet until like 2007, 2008, when we had apps on our phone. We could do all these other things. It
Yep.
was just information. We pull up a website and that's it. That's a small part of what we do now. We have Netflix. We start effectively using it 30 years later. So
Wow.
technology, people see their iPhones change every 6 months, the TVs change. That's marketing. That's not technology.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is actually very slow.
And just adapting, right? Just getting.
Adoption,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's slower than you think. Like that's marketing. iPhone every 6 months is marketing. They will hold back features so that they can introduce the features next time.
Right.
But actual technology is slow. It takes some time. People have to adopt it. It's very much slower than most people know, and that's the reason why it's taking so long with Bitcoin to
Right.
have full adoption.
Right. I know people today that still don't use email the right way. So it's
Exactly.
and speaking of technology, AI, is that going to play a role in the future of crypto in any way?
Yeah, I think that AI is one of the use cases most crypto have, because you remember where the future of AI. I see that AI, we're going to have these agents, even personalities, even like entities or self-contained AIs that do things, or their personalities, or they run a company, or models that run an entire company. And though they're going to need to transact with one another, and they can't use the traditional system; it's too slow. AI is thousands and millions of times faster than us. They need something that can go fast back and forth, and crypto is going to fit right into that. So I think that's one of the things that crypto is going to be good for in the future, is that machine to machine payments, transactions. If let's say one AI model needs data from another one, it can pay it for that data, and then it will get the data instantaneous. There's a lot of things that AI models can do between themselves that don't need any human at all, that they can apply cryptocurrency to.
It's wild. It's wild to think about. And then when you think about like the disruption, do you think I hear a lot of people say like, this is going to like devalue our dollar. This is going to be bad for the United States dollar. And I don't really know what the argument is to that, but do you think blockchain in general and the technology is going to disrupt the dollar? Do you think it's going to have any disruption?
I think the dollar is going to be disrupted anyway. So I think what our leadership is doing, and I think that would be smart, is to use crypto to shore up the dollar in the midterm, like for the next 30 years. Eventually, the dollar is going to be worthless anyway, because some type, even if it's not blockchain, some technology will overtake it and be a worldwide currency.
Hmm.
That's just the easy. Like, technology goes down the path of easiest resistance. That's the easiest path. Like, it's too many currencies, too many ways, transact. It's not going to continue like that. But
Hmm.
what I think our leadership is doing, which is the smart thing, is to get involved in crypto early, use it to shore up the U.S. dollar and have 30 more years of supremacy.
Hmm.
And
Well, I think that was one of
eventually,
the executive orders, right?
yeah,
Was to be the world
task
leader
force.
in crypto.
Yeah, because that in the midterm, next probably the rest of our lives will shore up the U.S. dollar. and then we won't have to worry about it until 2060, right? So I think that's a smart move they're doing.
So now, how do people find you today? What are you doing today for the other than sharing this amazing information? What else are you doing for the crypto community, and how could you help people?
Yeah, I speak at events. Also got a couple of companies that I run. One's an investment firm here in Tampa. Another one is a development firm. We develop software for AI, emerging technology, AI, humanoid robotics, and blockchain. And I also run a group called the Chestnut Checkers Group. People who just want to learn more about investing in emerging technologies. So those are the three things I do, and I also speak at a lot of events. So and also have my own events that I do.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Do you have anything coming up soon?
Actually, I got an eight city tour coming up, but I don't know the dates yet.
Okay.
The company hasn't sent it to me, so.
Oh, that's great. This is such a hot topic, I think, especially now as we're in this bull market and we have a new administration. What's been your biggest win in the crypto space? What have you learned from it?
I mean, I've learned from getting in crypto early. I learned a lot about finance in general. And I'm really thankful for that. Is that I mean, up into 2011 when I got into crypto, I traded stocks, but I didn't understand it. I was just day trading and stuff like that. But actually, crypto made me understand finance, adoption, how technology moves, all of these things that I really didn't understand at first. So that's really one of the biggest gifts that crypto has given me is just insight into the world of finance and how things work in the world of finance. I'm thankful for that, and I've used that outside of crypto a lot.
Awesome. It's impressive. And one of the last questions I'll ask you here is if you could give one piece of advice to someone that's skeptical about crypto, what would it be?
I would say just make sure skepticism comes from when you don't understand something. So just like try to be open minded, spend a weekend or a day during the weekend and just learn about cryptocurrency and learn why it's valuable. And you don't have to not be skeptical anymore, but just keep an open mind and just do a little bit of research. And if you see at the end, maybe you'll come around, maybe you won't, but at least you've looked at it and you can tell if it's something you want to get involved with. Because I'm pretty sure, and I've bet my whole life on it that cryptocurrency is going to do great things in the future.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I'm so happy that I had you here today, guys. Definitely go follow Armando. We're going to be posting a bunch of clips. We're gonna, maybe we'll have him back one day in the future and see if some of these predictions come true. But he's a wealth of information on the crypto world. Go check out his TED Talk. Check out his book, The Strategic Millionaire. And Armando, we're so thankful that you came on today, that you kind of shed some of this light on us about crypto, and we're excited for the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Guys, go check out Armando. Have a great day.